Hey, this is part 2 in our Getting Started series. It's geared more towards admin users who got to do various custom setup options, configuring your account, as well as managing employees. And we're going to go through various items with that perspective. However, if you've not watched part 1 of this Getting Started series, please stop now, watch that. It's important you understand the terms covered in part 1. That'll make all of this make more sense. Okay, now I'm actually going to go into timeline again. That's your inspection history. And again, you can search through everything here. You can type in any partial string. That's in your property search field there, or property or unit search there. I'm going to cover here these various filter icons. So that controls which various icons you're going to see here. So I'm just going to turn off all of these filters. And so now I'm not seeing anything on timeline. All right, so if when I click this one, that's your actual inspection reports. So when you click on that, you'd see all the photos and videos and the complete inspection report in there. Now, in progress, and you can see these red clocks on here, that's specifically for inspections that inspectors have started, but they have not completed yet. And so if you hover over it, you'll be able to see when they started it, and who started it, and you'll know that it hasn't been finished yet. And so, like for example, on the mobile app, it'll say inspect 2, and so this mobile device has 2 inspections that are in progress that need to be finished on that app in order for them to upload to the website. Okay, next we have what are called just files, so you can actually upload any file you want into zInspector, even Excel file, Word file, PDF, JPEG, anything at all, and it'll just be accessible here in timeline and in various other views. And so you can just use this for a general document storage system as well as searching on property unit there, and you have all the nice filters there as well. The easiest way to upload your own files is just click right here and just hit File and just pick the right property and date. You'll enter in title, and then any document will show up here, and it's all going to be searchable. All right, now here, we have a unique term in zInspector. It's called activities. And so that's the broad category of basically how we're going to store all of your media. And so that's different than a document title. So for example, we may store all your pictures. So when you click on here, you would see all of the pictures and everything in there. It's an activity icon. So we store all the pictures there. You can think of it as a folder, basically, where we're storing all of, or maybe an album in other software. And so that's how we're going to be storing all your pictures and videos and 360 images, so you can easily reference that in various places. Now, your actual inspection report, like your move-in, some people might name it, property condition report or something else like that, but it's still a move-in, and so it may reference things like that. So the activity is a unique term in zInspector, and that's how we're basically going to be categorizing and storing all of your media, your photos, your videos, and 360 images. All right, now you can just turn those off if you don't want and don't see those activity icons. Now, here, media, that just shows you now your raw pictures. So this now, again, is all searchable as well, and you can hover over it, and it'll show you the address, what's a picture of, who took the picture, all that information from it. And then there are various icons here as well. And so if I click these icons here, or the top icon on any one of those, that will actually open it, whether it's an image or a video or anything like that. So here, I'll just go ahead and open it, and that's what kind of that image is there. It's, it's a very, very nice house in this example, and so that's that. And then if you click that icon there, that will open up the complete inspection report, and then here that'll download that raw uncompressed image. If you want to download many pictures, what you do is you download or open up the inspection report, and there is a zip download option to download many pictures at once for that inspection. Okay, so that's your media filter there. But a unique element right here is the filter media. You can click here and you could say, show me just my panoramics, and it's only going to show you panoramic pictures for that match oak. And you can really go through and search for a lot of things really quickly. You can search by the inspector, any partial string on their email address, that will be there. Also, the area and detail information will cover that. You can sort for that as well. So you could enter anything like tub or shower or toilet or anything like that. It's going to find that, as well as bedrooms or bathrooms or kitchen or anything like that. And you're going to go and quickly find exactly what you're looking for. And this works for hundreds of thousands of pictures. You can go and search through all those different terms. All right, now this right there is our compare. That's most customers are going to be using that for their move in, move out comparison. But you can really pick any two inspections. So if you did a move in, the tenant did a move in, or you wanted to compare it versus a periodic or annual or anything like that, you can actually compare any two inspections. Even most people are going to be doing their move in and move out. And then this is going to download a history. It's going to show you the inspector as well as the number of pictures that they took, time of first picture, time of last picture, GPS coordinates of first picture, GPS coordinates of last picture. So you've got all that information right there for all of your different events here in timeline. Okay, so that is timeline. Now task is really the next level. That is when you want to maybe do things with scheduling or more of a email management system or other types of coordination work. It's fantastic for coordinating turnover work. However, we recommend you don't start with tasks. Get comfortable with zInspector first. Really learn how inspection reports work and how activities work, your property lists work. Get all really comfortable with all that. Then you can dive into tasks. That's really the next level, what you do with your inspection data and what we're going to do with it from there. Okay, tenants. This is really if you want tenants like on tenant move-in, you can have them do their own move-in inspection on their own app. You can have them remote sign their inspections. There's a really nice dashboard here. So even if you have thousands of tenants, you can quickly search for all of them here and manage it. Same thing with tenant inspections. That's basically for tenant periodic inspections. Now we have a bunch of dedicated videos on both of these topics. It's actually really, really easy to use, but it's designed specifically to manage a lot of data in bulk. But I encourage you to watch the videos just on that section. Really easy, really fast to use, but there's good enough videos that already cover this section. Okay, so properties. Now what properties are is it's really more of a unit list. And so you will see things, and it depends on your software that we're syncing with and if we're syncing it. So you can see here is common. And so like in this particular, it's not really the most elaborate property name, but here I have 000 sync common, and then I have 00 sync unit 000. So but again, that's not the best example. But what we're really trying to do is we're adding here a unit, a common level unit, as well as the individual units underneath it. And so that's for your multifamily units. If you are syncing with other software, that we're going to be doing that. And what that does for you is it provides you a nice unit that you can, inspectable unit for inspecting your common area. So if you're going to looking at building exterior or parking lots or anything like that, you can do that too. But most people are going to start with inspecting the units geared for move-ins and move-outs. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and click right here on the admin page. There's just a few extra settings on here, and that can be useful. Now, one here to look here is that last activity date. And so what this is, I can actually click here and control the sort order, and that's basically the last time a picture was taken. So you can think of it as the last time that there was an inspection. And it's also searchable, so I can say, hey, show me anything that was done in 2020, okay? Or I can say anything that was done before, so less than 2020. That's any properties that I've not taken any pictures at here in the last year. Or I could do anything not in 2020. And so those type of search terms can be very powerful to do to really find what you're looking for. All right, now accounting right there. So we sync with various other software. If your property is synced with it, then it looks like this account is currently out of sync, but we're going to specifically say yes on all of those properties if they're in sync with some other software like Rent Tech Direct or Rent Manager or something like that. So if it's in sync, it's going to say yes here. And that can be really easy or useful to search. So if certain properties are out of sync, and you may even just manually add a property. So maybe you're assessing a property for management, or maybe you're also using zInspector for documenting pictures for real estate sales or anything like that. So they're not in your accounting system. Other people are providing inspections as a service. So those are all examples where you could have properties in here that are no, and that's intended. Okay. Now we have a few other things here. If I had some properties like maybe 123 Smith and 123 Test, maybe those were really the same property, just had them named wrong or something like that, I can actually click those two different properties and merge them. We're going to handle all that for you. The most common example is if you named property a little bit incorrectly, and when it came over from the sync, and then you'll see one no, not in sync, another one yes, that is in sync, and you can easily merge those two. Okay, now we have another feature here called user groups. There's a separate video just on how user groups work, but then what that can do is it control across the board, whether it's on the properties page, on the standard properties page, whether it's on the tenants page or the task page or timeline or on the zInspector mobile app. Any user is only going to see the properties that they need access to. It's really easy to take users in and out of different user groups as well. And so that can be very powerful if you have a big portfolio. If you are set up with Rent Manager, there is a dedicated video just for you where basically those user groups can all be populated automatically from property groups. All right, so that is kind of the summary of the admin page. Now, when you're on the admin page, you can click edit, and then you could change various things in here. If you're syncing, you really don't want to change much here on the names or anything like that. That's gonna happen for you automatically. Now, some of these other tabs here, we're going to cover them more in other videos here. For the most part, you can skip them initially, but it's useful for coordinating other types of things. If you want to store various fields in there, you can do that. But again, there's going to be some other videos on that later. All right, so under contacts, owners, tenants, vendors, that's where you can basically search for it. You can add new people there. Not everyone does that. Some people just use zInspector standalone, just have the properties and just do inspections. That's fine. Other people use it for managing all their data and putting that in there as well, and that's fine as well. Okay, but what everyone's going to need to do basically is going to go to Contacts Group, and this is where you're going to manage your employees. And so here's all the various employees on your account. You'll hit New Member, and then basically you can add a new employee. Now, most of your property managers are going to be named here with this type of role. And so here, if I hit edit, I could change what the role is right here. Now, this edit delete, it's actually a limited edit delete. So we let them do things like change the property layout or kind of various kind of subtleties like that, as well as like editing maintenance pictures or marketing pictures, kind of give them that control. But they specifically can't change anything in the move in, move out, or inspection activity. And we go through some of those subtleties right in here and what we're doing there. So only admin users can make a change to a move in or move out inspection. So if I look at that inspection report, if I'm an admin user, I could actually just see right over here if I saw a problem and said, I could actually just click on it and say, and add something in here like that. Entire floor needs refinish, for example. And that's how you could do that. But you've got to be an admin user to kind of click there and make those types of changes. And changes are tracked in the log and see if you did make them. All right, so going back into the kind of admins page for the properties page, I'm going back into contacts group, and so that's what those kind of most people will be under those. Now, if you've got someone who you really don't want doing many things, and you don't want them doing much on the layout at all, you may set them into then recreate. Keep in mind, if they do that, they can't change the property layout. So if they need to add a bedroom or add an extra kitchen or anything like that, they're not going to be able to do that. So this one really should be for someone who is really just going out and taking pictures, performing inspections, and but not able to do many changes. Most property managers, that role is not sufficient. All right. And then also, let's say if someone makes a mistake, you want them to go and edit their inspection, you could easily go in here and click them, change them to admin, okay, scroll down here, hit save. They can now go through and make their changes, and once they're done, you can go back and just easily take them out and modify them there that quick, okay? And so that's kind of how you manage your users. Now again, talked about user groups before. This is where you manage your users. So both properties are assigned to user groups, users are assigned to user groups, and then that connects it all together. It's actually really fast and easy to use and can give you a lot of flexibility. Watch the separate videos on that topic for larger organizations. All right, now I'm going to go into settings and profile settings. Now, basically every account for at least one admin user is going to turn on global auto reporting. Now you can decide what you want to do. Maybe you're the group owner and you don't want copies of all reports, and so you might do something like this. Actually, turn that off. So I'm not going to get copies of my email, but I want them to go into archive or document retention or whatever that may be, and so I can put them in some other email address, and then a copy of all the reports will be there. Now we also support sending your reports to Dropbox or Google Drive or anything like that. Just contact us for instructions on how to do that. All right. This here is if you're going to be using the task manager, each user can go and sync up Google with the task. You can also get a direct link. So if you're going to use Outlook or another calendar program, that's fine too. I don't think you need to start here right away. You can do that at a later time, but it's good to know that that's there. Okay. All right. Now under admin settings, there are a bunch of other kind of various things that are important. All right, so let's kind of go through this. Obviously, billing and payments, and that's where you're going to enter in your payment data, credit card data. All right, now we've got accounting software integration. And so here we can sync with various programs, kind of Rent Manager, Rent Tech Direct, Appfolio, Propertyware. Each one of these, there's dedicated videos on processes on how to do that. When you click on one, you'll have the various tutorial videos for that. Feel free to contact support, or we work really hard to help people get set up on that. So if you have any problems at all with that, just let us know and we can help you do that integration. For integrations outside of Rent Tech Direct, because that one's kind of very seamless, works really well. Outside of that, all the other ones you need to be on a paid plan in order to do the integration. All right, now for CSV Import, we have various import functions. Most people are going to just import properties units. It's pretty easy to do that. You basically got to get an Excel file to be in the right order. So you want to do this if you are not syncing with Appfolio or Rent Tech Direct or Rent Manager Propertyware. So don't use this spreadsheet import tool if you're going to be syncing with any of those functions, any of those other software packages. It'll just create unnecessary work and duplications for you. But it's pretty easy to download the CSV file, get a dedicated video just for that, and you basically will take that CSV file, you'll drag it and drop it here. With that, you'll pick your naming conventions and do your imports. All right, now I'm going to go back in here into inspections and templates. And so here we have PM report settings. And so there are a number of things that are kind of in this that are important. And you can get under here under inspections and templates. You can also get here under settings and report settings, because it is such a fundamental one that many different things show up. So there are a lot of kind of subtleties on how your reports are viewed, kind of showing icons and grids and location links. Inline media is one. I think if you want your pictures at the end, you'll have inline media off. If you want them in the section, you put them inline. There are some other kind of little subtleties here. By default, these will all be off. And so, sorry about that, I kind of zoomed in weird there. So those are all going to be off. And so this is for allow an activity delete, change property name, or copy PM condition values. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and turn all of those on and click save. Okay, so now let me show you what happens and what options that's going to give me when I turn that on. So when I go back into timeline and I'm going to open up an inspection report, and then now when I click here on this kind of report arrow, I click that. These options right here are enabled when we enable those options under report settings. So here we could actually delete an inspection. Here we could move an inspection from one property to another. Here we can actually just change the date of an inspection. And then here we can copy a condition table. So what that would be for is if you, for example, did a move out inspection and it basically looked perfect, you could copy that move out to a move in, get a move in, and then you could actually do what's called span. I can adjust my span values, include the pictures on the report. So it might seem a little involved, but once you get comfortable doing it with it, it becomes really powerful because you have a lot of important things that you can do. Now, the key thing with zInspector, so here's this report, okay, is that the report and pictures are really two different things. So when we have the report, what we're doing is we're called spanning. So if I uncheck these items, that's going to hide all of my pictures. All my pictures are gone. But with spanning, what we're doing is we're actually attaching pictures to the report and then embedding them in the report. And then using the GPS coordinates and the time stamping and all that to document exactly where that's pictures from and why that's kind of a valid attachment. Now you can even do things here like I can download this PDF and here I could uncheck it and download that PDF and it would not have that picture. Now if I click in under these settings, remember we were on report settings, so these are various options in here. Now I could change these, like maybe I don't want colors or I don't want the grid, these icons or the grid or the location links, right? So I could change all those links and that changes what my report looks like. Okay, so if I go here under options, that's going to change it and allow me to download a fresh report. But if I go under settings, report settings, that's going to change my default options for the company. All right, now a couple kind of unique things here to to keep in mind here as well. And this one you probably don't want to use right away, but you definitely want to know that it's there. That when you're looking here at, let's say, a move out inspection, that you can actually hit share and download here in XLS. And there's a separate video on just that. But what it'll do is it'll put your entire inspection data into an Excel file with your own calculators. And the calculator we give you, it by default is going to put all of your damage items on a workbook. You can easily put in all the damage amounts, do an owner-tenant split, and now you've got your security deposit return documentation. You can get very sophisticated with that to basically custom upload your own calculators that use that inspection data. Again, I wouldn't recommend you do much with this out of the box, but it's good for you to know that it's there. And so once you would like to watch that, dedicated video on just that. But if you want to upload your own templates, basically going to drag and drop that CSV file right here. Okay, now these right here is at the top of your inspection reports. We're going to put in a list of things that were either damaged or action items or so forth, and you can control which ones you want to put. So one thing to keep in mind, like at a move out inspection, like here, if I'm going to make something as damaged here in this example, and it says very dirty. Okay, so when I do that in here, and then I'm also going to make sure I have my summary table. So here I'm going to put damage or action items. And so you can see that's what that would do here, is it would have my summary table up here of just things that were damage or action items, and then the full inspection report down below. Most time this works out very well. So if there's just a handful of items, you've got that just kind of like a little summary table at the top. One thing to keep in mind is a move out. Sometimes there's just so many things that are dirty, so many things. It almost becomes a total duplicate of the inspection, the summary table, and the main inspection. So that would be an example where you might want to go in here and turn that summary table off, and then from there download a fresh PDF inspection report. Or if that happens to you all the time or kind of too often, then maybe on move out, then maybe you want to set that so there's none. You don't have the summary table there by default. But those are the types of options that you can control. All right, so let's kind of keep going down here. So in some of these options, so we went into settings, how to report settings. Now we're going to go into document settings. Now, and actually before I do that, I'm going to skip over that. I'm going to come back to it, and I want to cover what's called area details. So if you remember in the first video, we actually mentioned this. So properties are made up of a list of areas. So every property has a unique list of areas. Within areas, you have what are called details. And so here is this detail list here. Now, sometimes new users kind of come through here and they go, oh, I want all this. Click, 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 click. Don't do that. Okay, the idea, it's a little bit different. If you're used to maybe a paper inspection, your mindset is, hey, I want this big long list of every possible item, and then I X off what is not applicable. It's a little bit different. We want this list to be as small as you can, and then let inspectors add things as they go. If you don't, so like if you had balcony in there, unless basically everything had a balcony, then what's going to happen is you're going to get too many inspectors that just mark a balcony and mark it all satisfactory, and you've got now a bunch of bad data. So you're better off keeping this default list here as short as you can. Now, probably the ones I would like to point out in particularly that you should look at. Systems. For your single family homes, I really like having systems as its own default. Not everybody does, but it's really kind of up to you. So I think it's a good idea to put it there. Now, if you're not like, in a place that has a lot of water softeners or water heater, sorry, not water heaters, everyone's got a water heater, but if you don't like a lot of water softeners or things like that, then here you could hit edit, and then you would kind of get rid of that there and get rid of, now, in other parts of the country, this is where you might want to add in a propane tank or something like that you are going to be looking at as important to you. And now you can keep track of that all in one spot, kind of the systems across the board. That's just kind of how I recommend it and prefer it. The other areas I'd ask you to pay the most attention to is under bedrooms. Under the default list, smoke detector is not on the list. And so there are more and more states that require smoke detectors in your bedrooms. If you do, then you're going to go ahead and add in smoke detector here on that list, and that'll be part of your bedroom. Now, the default setup also, what it does is it, under hallway, it puts a smoke and CO detector right here. And that's also there by default setup. If you don't have a CO detectors in your state, it's not required, you could get rid of that as an item there. Some people like having smoke CO detector and smoke and CO as two separate line items. And you could literally do something like this. You could put in like detector smoke, and you could put in detector CO. So if you really wanted to put that in there, then you could do something like that, and I could you get the idea. You can kind of control this list to be whatever you want. The beauty of this detail list is you can change this at any time. So even though your properties are set up with a list of areas, and the inspector can mark things off as not applicable, you could be changing this. And so like if your law is changing, now you have to have CO detectors, go ahead and add them. Now, on a separate side note, I think basically every property should have a CO detector. There's no reason not to. They don't cost that much, and I think in real life I've seen situations where they're important. But this is just a perfect place where you're going to do that. Now, I've seen some people who like to put the smoke CO detectors in the system section or a dedicated safety area. That's fine too, as long as you know where you're doing it. Okay, so that's one to keep in mind for the safety. I'd also ask that you look at here under window, under bedroom, window, lock, screen. I think the default setup they're all just one item. Some people like window lock, window screen is really separating them. So that would be a good example for you to check. But then for you to look at the most, both bathrooms and kitchens. And this tends to be where companies are the most particular about how they want to operate things. And so you want to keep that in mind. And now also, we see sometimes people, they want to really kind of control this list. This list is alphabetical within the area. And we have seen it and we believe it over time. We actually think this is better. And the reason is because, right, you have in here, so let's say I'm just going to type in wall, okay? And so you can see the ordering of it is different, right? This one only has a few details. The bathroom has a bunch of details, right? And it can be changing. By keeping it alphabetical, what it's going to do is say, hey, if I'm looking for a wall, I'm always going to be looking in the same relative position in the list. And so we believe it's faster to do it this way. And so when you're trying to inspect for a dining room or entry or whatever that may be, it's easier to look at it that way. And then you can control the ordering of the areas and the properties. We already showed you that here in the last video. All right, now the default for single family, default for multifamily, those are going to be used when you actually are creating properties. So if you go and change these here, that's not going to overwrite properties you already have. The reason is because we're going to give your inspectors full control to change the layout, and these are primarily going to be geared towards your new properties. All right, so that was kind of the long approach there to go to properties. Properties are made up of a list of areas, and within areas we got details. Okay, so let's go now into here, back into inspections, and we're going to go into document settings. All right, so this is probably one here you want to look at from the very beginning, and you go to document settings, go to customize. Go ahead and upload your logo right here. When you do that, it's actually going to show up right here on the app. Also on the tenant move-in apps, so the tenant apps is going to brand all those apps. This is going to be the header information for your report. And by default, we just put the group owner's name. More often than not, you're going to want to get rid of that email address and just put it something like that or whatever that is. Just put any general information here. So these are just general lines. They can be whatever you want. And then here I hit save. Now, there are certain people that it's mainly government work or some insurance work that on the reports, they need the timestamps right on the picture themselves. It's kind of an older style standard. By default, our timestamps are next to the pictures on the report. If you want that, you can just simply enable that here. But if you do that, we can't turn it off on those pictures at least. So that timestamp is always going to be like in a small little, corner. It's going to show the timestamp right on the picture. So if that's important to you, that you can do that. All right, now under active templates, there's a lot of different things here. There's whole videos on just doing that. A few things I would ask you to kind of look at right from the beginning. If you're not in Sacramento, get rid of those, okay? So, and then when you get rid of here, and I make these here inactive, I'm really not hurting anything at all. Everything is still under my inactive list. You can always go and restore them. Now, a few that we see a lot of people kind of get rid of, pre-move out. So if you're doing a move out inspection, a pre-move out inspection, and that could be either just because you are doing that to kind of get a jump on your turnover work, that can be very useful to do that. Or you might be required to do that in certain states like California. You may have to do a pre-inspection. That's when you would keep that there. If you basically don't do those types of inspections, I would just get rid of those pre-move out examples. Most people do not need a dedicated smoke detector inspection. If you don't, just get rid of that. That format there is a smoke and CO detector in the hallway and a smoke detector in each bedroom. Puts it in a nice little graphical format if that's something you need, but many people can choose to just kind of get rid of that one. All right. Others kind of get rid of the tenant completed pre-move out inspection. So this one, I'd be very cautious in using it. Really only do this if you know you need it or you really want to control this process, you've really thought about it. You could get yourself in a situation where a tenant marks something as normal wear and tear, and if you don't review it right, then they're really not responsible potentially when they move out. So I would really kind of carefully look at this. Do this maybe if you're required, or if you really want to control the move out process, or you want the tenant to be maybe go through a checklist. But most people out of the box should probably just get rid of this one right here, make that inactive. Okay, now a couple of others here. The tenant annual inspection. This is if you want tenants to do a more complete inspection as part of annual one. I actually prefer not to do that. My preference is actually just to get rid of that. But that's if the tenants are doing a more complete inspection that's similar to the move in and move out. My preference for the midterm tenant completed inspections to do the tenant periodic or tenant renewal, basically the same inspection, just a little bit different title. And it just gives them a few questions and then a whole bunch of camera buttons. So kind of you want to think about that. Now, we got a couple unit due diligence ones here. If you don't manage any large complexes, then I would just get rid of those. Where those would be useful is if you had some large complexes, you had multiple inspectors kind of going through and doing the inspections, then you could use that to compare basically all the units across the board and say how many need new flooring or how many need new refrigerator, right? So they can help with that. But you don't need to do that unless you're really managing kind of larger properties. All right. So we've kind of gone through most of the core settings. Smart comments we talked about the other video. It's pretty easy to change that list. There are some other settings here and options here as well. And I'm going to show you another way to get to these settings here. And so if I go down to settings, admin settings, right? So those same type of menus here, they're also here. So I can say additional settings and options. Here, these tenant move-in, tenant inspections, right? That's all going to be for controlling the daily reminders, the number of days to send reminders, the reply email, to customize the welcome email. So there's 4 different values here. That way you have unique control of each one of those settings. Enterprise settings. This here is for enterprise accounts. You can almost fully white label your reports, or you can get rid of generated by zInspector, and you can do some other bulk inviting tools and some other things like that. So that's kind of useful there. Then we also got tour settings. So I'm going to cover that. But one last thing here before we go, I'm going to go into task settings right here. So task settings, there are a couple things to set up right here, or to at least be aware of. And so you're going to see us automatically creating turnover repair work after your inspections. If you don't like that, then just turn that off right there. That's how you would turn that off. And if you make changes on this page here, you want to hit save. Okay, now the other one you want to keep in mind is the company identification subject. In various emails, we're going to put this right there, right in the subject line to make it easy for your clients to filter on any emails. And so that's going to be set by default based on how you enter the group owner enters the company name it's set up. But if you had just done a little test something or something like that, then you may want to change that. So that's where you would change that right there. Okay, so that is a pretty good overview of the basics, a lot of little subtleties. Also, you want to keep in mind here, support a ton of topics here, lots of different articles. You can always chat with us, schedule a web conference. We are happy to help you out and dive into these more advanced settings and make sure you are kind of set up and going. Before I do go on, I did kind of skip this one part because I want to go back under here, settings, document templates. And I do want to talk, because I should have covered this already, specifically on our template in the structure. Again, there's whole videos just on this topic. And it's a little bit cryptic, but I want to kind of just cover it so you see this at a top level, and that there are all these different fields in here. And so you can have special, unique questions, you can have date fields, you can have drop downs, you can have comment fields. But the one that's unique right here is the inspection condition table. And that's what's going to leverage all that work we did with areas and details. That's what's going to leverage it right here. So there's specific topics right on that. So if you want to search on inspection table or condition table, then you can customize that to really be whatever you wanted. And that gives you a lot of power and control. So we got these templates, but then the ideas are going to dynamically change, whether it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 5-bedroom, 3-bath, 2 kitchens, whatever. That's going to all change then. So I got one template. I got a move-out template or a move-in template. So I'm not telling my inspectors, go do my move-out 3-bedroom template. No, you just do the move-out template, and then it's going to dynamically change based on the setup for that property. Okay, I know that was a lot of information. Happy to help you out. Let us know what we can do for you, and we'll talk to you soon.